What song was that?
Purple Rain.
That was Purple Rain? I would not have guessed that was Purple Rain.
You should know Purple Rain.
And welcome back to the Midday Show. I am Jeff Everett, and he is Mark Messina. Some interesting news stories today. We're going to talk about a local pastor and some of his misdealings. You also have an interesting story about a jailhouse, kind of like, what do you even call that? I'm not even sure what to call it.
We'll let the people decide.
Yes. And then we're going to wrap up the Olympics at the end. But first off, Mark, how are you feeling today?
Mark feels good, mostly because he is no longer a fall sport athlete, and he is no longer a fall sport coach, because they get underway today with this heat acclimation, whatever, and they are going to get acclimated to the heat because it is like equator hot out there today.
It is. This week, probably maybe the hottest week they've had for heat acclimation.
It sucks. And I was just joking with the football coach in Mentorsville, because last night we had the parents meeting and the booster meeting and all that stuff too. And I said, I was talking to the trainer actually. And I was like, yeah, we just had a couple good weeks of, like 75, and then the season starts and here's 90 again. So it's going to be brutal. And, for soccer and in soccer, there's so much running, and football, they've got the gear, but they only go helmets this week.
Sure.
So it's no one wanted to see 90. No one wanted to see 90.
Did they do heat acclimation last year with COVID?
I'm going to say no.
Okay.
I don't, because I know for a long time they didn't even know they were going to play. I'd heard people say last year the kids had never been so excited to go to like 2-a-day summer practices because they didn't think they were going to have it.
Yeah.
But we didn't have heat acclimation when I was a kid, but we would go 3-a-days. We go 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays. Yeah. And on Wednesdays, we would go 2-a-days, and it was like, it's like a day off.
Yeah.
So it's just different. But here they are. Time to sweat. Let's go.
Let's do this. Here is the story. A pastor and wife accused of taking more than $13,000 from a local church to pay bills and purchase various items. I have to read the first line of this story because I thought they nailed it. At NorthcentralPa.com, Brett Crossley wrote, "Thou shalt not steal is one of the most famous of the 10 commandments in the Bible. Apparently, it doesn't apply to a pastor and his wife in Sunbury after they were charged with several felonies stemming from the alleged theft of allotted funds from the church that they served." They bought. Do you remember the thing?
Well, this is
off some of the
they
things
stole like 13 grand.
Yes,
and it's from a few years ago, 2017. They did the accounting, so it's obviously they found this through. But the things that were listed were like a kayak, a Peloton exercise bike, and a subscription to like XM satellite radio,
Sirius Radio.
Sirius Radio. Okay, so when I hear that, I'm not so sure. And they've been charged, or were they convicted?
They've actually been charged with one count of third-degree felony.
This is the part that got me. If you're stealing from your employer, which is, it has a glossier term too, because it's a pastor stealing from the church.
Correct.
But you're stealing from your employer. It's almost like stealing from the PTO or the Little League Fund or whatever, but it's different because this is your business. This is his livelihood, and he's stealing out of the coffers of his livelihood.
Yes.
As someone who's never stolen from his employer, I'm going out on a limb here, but I always suspected this to either one, to be paying debts that you couldn't pay any other way, or B, to buy something like lavish and frivolous. Like you were getting away with it, you were never going to get caught, and you're buying presents for a girlfriend or trips or something.
Sure.
Like a kayak just seems like the last thing on earth that you're using stolen funds to acquire.
Or yeah, even a Peloton. Even the subscription stuff. I was blown away that somebody would actually do a subscription based because it's reoccurring. So like the trail is kind of like right there in front of you.
Yes.
So that the subscription based one kind of seemed pretty stupid to me.
I almost wondered in reading through this, and I know a kayak is more recreational, but there's a fitness aspect to it. Like there's a lot of recreational things that are less physical than kayaking. And a Peloton bike is obviously 100% for fitness. I almost
like a write-off. It almost sounds like a write-off.
Yeah, like they're going to come up with this. Well, we had this in the budget for health and wellness,
right?
And the XM satellite radio. I get because I was making these hospital visits. I'm going to see shut-ins because in the small town community churches they do that a lot, and it just isn't as if this would have been like. They took 2 weeks in Maui. It would be a lot glitzier of a story.
Sure. There's nothing shiny. There's
it's
no
just
gold.
Weird.
Is that what you're saying?
I just can't imagine like coming home like, honey, I just knocked off a convenience store. Let's go get in shape. Like I just don't see it that way.
So within this it says his contract, he was granted $800 each week from the church. And so for $800 each week.
So he's making $40,000 a year.
A Peloton's not a bad, like that's a windfall if you're $800 a week. You know what I'm like?
I don't know how much a Peloton costs. I bought my exercise bike off the floor at Dick's 10 years ago for $400.
I think a Peloton is 4 digits. I was
going to say 1,000.
Yes, I think so.
Okay.
Trust me, I wouldn't know, but I think a Peloton is worth.
You've read.
I think a Peloton might be worth 4 digits. I get your point though. I think if you're looking, like if they're making $800 a week towards the church, taking $13,000, I mean that's almost a third of your salary. Like it's more substantial in the context of his situation.
Wait, how much do you think it costs?
I'm saying you said he made about 40,
he took $14,000. Yeah.
He took $13,000.
Yes.
It's about a third,
it's a third of his salary.
It's, I know it doesn't seem like on the grand scale, like in a movie perception, like it doesn't seem like a ton, but in the movie of this guy's life, $13,000 wasn't tiny.
Then if those 3 things don't add up to $13,000.
No, yes.
So they blew it at other places.
Sure.
But these are the shiniest ones to put in, or maybe they were the most ridiculous ones. I don't know.
Possibly.
Maybe maybe there's like if there had been something like a country club membership. I don't know. It's just odd. Kayak, Peloton bike just don't fit.
And Sirius XM. No, I'm with you. What we should have somebody, and this is a little bit off of this story. We should have somebody come in and explain the bail process to us. Because like there's this
Are you trying to get ahead of the curve here?
Yeah, just for my own knowledge, right? For my own knowledge. So I've survived cancel culture so far. So I'm moving on to the next thing. The whole bail process, they had to post $10,000 in unsecured bail. That seems high to me.
I thought it was 10%. Which would have been $1,300.
Yeah, this was $10,000 unsecured bail. That's why I said we should have somebody come in and like actually walk us through the bail process because that's high. When I've seen other people charged, and it's not half of that.
Could you see he just pulls out this big wad of money? Just starts. How much you need? 100, 200, 300.
I don't know. So maybe we could have someone come on and explain that process. Because yes, it's based off of like a percentage of what you're actually being charged with, correct?
I thought.
Okay.
Well, but a lot of them don't have, like if you, commit murder or commit art, like there's no dollar sign that goes along with it. So they pick one. I don't know. Yeah, the bail, that is interesting.
10,000 seems steep. For that.
For buying a bike.
For buying a Peloton and a kayak, $10,000 unsecured bail seems high. So maybe there was something else there going on.
Yeah.
Jailhouse Justice. You found this was one of your clickbait ones.
I found this one.
Okay, tell us the story.
So it happened. I think it happened in Washington. I think they've since transferred the guy to a federal pen in Florida.
Okay.
But he was this dude's in jail, and he killed his cellmate, which, okay, I guess it happened.
Sure.
It turns out the killer was like 26.
Okay.
The dead dude now was 70.
Okay.
The dead dude had molested the little sister of the 26-year-old.
Okay.
So the immediate thought, there are a couple angles, and just to finish up the bookkeeping, the killer has now had 24 years added to his sentence. Nowhere in the article could I find out what his sentence already was.
Okay.
But I think you talk to most red-blooded American males. I never had a sister, but I have daughters, and whether you have daughters or sisters or whatever, that you're like, some dude molests her, sexually assaults her, rapes her, whatever, and their immediate thought is, I'd kill him. So that's what this guy did. I think there's a large percentage of society that is like, he shouldn't have got any extra time. But so we get away from that, and we get into the penal system.
Mm-hmm.
If these guys are cellmates, and that's what it said in the article, it said cellmates. This wasn't like a prison yard shower shanking. Somebody has to know. And I'm almost wondering if this is like, we'll just put him together and let him take care of it. And because if the guy's serving 3 years for robbing from his church,
sure,
then it's one thing. If the guy's already serving like 2 life sentences, well, then what's 24 more years? So
a lot of different ways. So here's one of them. Is there any way that they could have possibly known before they were in the cell with each other? And what I mean by that is, like, I don't know if is there any way that the brother who was already in the cell would have known that was going to be his cellmate, or that person was going to end up in the same prison.
Yeah,
like,
I don't know the history. How long?
Yes.
It's good.
So there's
question.
So there's that whole aspect. And even if they did, like, it's not as simple as the brother couldn't just lean over to the security guard and be like, hey, like, I'll take care of that guy if you put us in the same cell. Because the security guard has no say.
They don't do the seating chart.
Right. No, they're not deciding who's rooming with who or who's in the same cell. So there's a whole aspect of, like, when you first told me the story, your question was kind of like, it can't be a coincidence.
I don't think it can.
Okay, but this is the part of it, though. Like, the more I think about it, the more likely I think it is that it could have been a coincidence. Like, I'm kind of beginning to realize, like, all the little things that would have had to have connected. There's no way. One of them had to be in the cell first. Did it say who was actually?
No. But
whoever was in the cell first, there's no way they would have known that person was coming into the prison system, or vice versa. There's no way that the person coming into the prison system would have known that the other person was already in the cell.
I get it. And to help your point, the guy had molested multiple kids. It wasn't just like one victim. So say he's 70 years old. Say he's convicted of molesting a dozen kids through the years.
Yeah. So the reason I bring that up is this sounds a little Shawshankish, where they're in the cell for a little while. What are you in for? What are you in for? Oh, I molested a couple of people. Oh, really? Like, and he starts telling stories, and then all of a sudden, and that's how the whole Shawshank thing, like, it's not identical, but like, that was how they found out that they thought he was wrongly accused. So it sounds a little bit.
He was wrongly accused.
He was.
There it is.
It is.
So anyway, I can just imagine, like, the prison board just being like, wait, we put who together?
Yeah.
And obviously this will change. They will do better background checks of who has done what and who has done what to whom. And but and you don't know, like, it could have been his sister, but if they could have the same mom and different dads, they could have different last names.
Right.
There could be lots of aspects to go along with this.
Yeah.
But when you put it all together, and you're like, they put a convicted felon in jail,
right,
in the same cell with a dude who molested his sister, Like, how long do you think? And the dude is 70. Like, this ain't a good fight. It's a 26-year-old who's stomping a 70-year-old. But
is it fair to say, okay, maybe there's a level of coincidence leading up to it, and then once it's happening, then like there's no coincidence at all. Do you get what I? So like, what are the odds that they would end up in the same prison? I think that's a big coincidence.
Absolutely.
But once they're in the same system, like once they're there, then like maybe it is kind of like a wink, wink, hint, hint. Hey, do this for me. I'll do this for you. Like, who knows what happened?
Well, that's I'd have to ask. I have a buddy that works I have a couple that work in prisons. And I don't know how big the prison was.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's but do all the inmates know what everybody else is in for? Do they talk about it? Do they not talk about it?
Only because of the length of the sentences, you'd run out of stuff to talk. Like at some point,
you think that everybody knows he's in for this and he's in for that, but maybe they don't. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know either. 100% assumption. I would have to imagine yes, they know. That's an assumption. I just can't imagine you would be somewhere for 3, 5, 10, 20 years and you're just never telling anybody what your sentencing is or how many years you're in or what you got accused of or charged. Like, there's just not that many things to talk about. It's not like you're turning on the news every day and like talking about current events.
Yeah, I guess. I also wonder too, in the world of, like, there are criminals and we see of all different levels, but those who molest children that society sees them as, and I wonder how many tears were shed by the guards, by like how many people were quick to come to aid and were we're going to let this one play out. And it's just, that's why jailhouse justice. I think that I don't think this was just I don't think people at the top are shocked.
You just think it's too big of a coincidence.
I think I think it's too big of a coincidence.
Interesting. That's interesting. This was another clickbaity one you found. Sleeping with the enemy is what you wanted to call it. You got to go. You got to roll.
Well, okay, yeah, and this is back to the Cuomo thing, and it's funny because when you first put it up, I was like, I don't even remember what the topic was.
You just saw Julia Roberts.
I saw you haven't seen it. It's a very underrated movie.
I'll have to watch it.
Like, it is suspenseful. It is suspenseful.
Before you dive into the clickbait thing, there's on Netflix, they do the how these movies were made. Have you seen this? And they did one for Pretty Woman.
Okay.
And you just kind of forgot how big of a star she was.
She wasn't until then.
Yes. But you just kind of forget, after that movie, I was there. I mean, it was so. Anyway, I just had watched the making of that, and they talk about her and the polka dot dress and the red dress and just the whole thing. And I'm just young enough that I forgot just how big of a star she was. Late 90s.
You've seen Pretty Woman, obviously.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
It is the corniest movie.
It's a Disney movie
that is really, really good. Yes. That I think. Because it's corny.
Because it was Disney. Disney put just enough of their stuff into it to make it corny.
But it is not even as a red-blooded American male who knows that it's corny.
Sure.
If I flip to it, I'm not turning.
Yeah.
It's that good.
Yeah.
So anyway, be that as it may, Sleeping with the Enemy, suspenseful. Yes.
Okay.
So Cuomo's doing his damage. And I found this interesting, and nobody else will, but I'll give you the rundown. There was a lady who was an attorney who helped find a movement called, and now I'm blanking on the movement, but I have it saved somewhere. But it was kind of the Me Too follow-up. Uh-huh. And it was in the wake of the Harvey Weinstein, and it was a real organization that to promote, discrimination or not discrimination, this unfair, sexual assaults and defending women in the workplace, basically. Mm-hmm. And I think it was called Time's Up.
Okay.
I think that's really it. And I'm just kidding, but I think that's it. So anyway, and she's this big time attorney, and she's a big time attorney who was one of the people that was a driving force in getting same-sex marriage legalized. So she is a nationally prominent enough to start to be on the board of this national organization.
Right.
Well, while the Cuomo thing is going on, one of the people on Cuomo's side who's starting to get in trouble and they're going out, whatever, is represented by this lady's law firm. Okay. So she's got this charity function over here where she makes no money off of. She's just trying to help this cause. Sure. And she's tried to help. She helped, same-sex marriage. She's trying to help. She helps the underprivileged. But she's got this business career where so as a practicing lawyer, her firm was representing one of Cuomo's subordinates or somebody in the Cuomo side.
Okay.
And in this, someone makes an accusation. So Cuomo's team comes back and has this like disparaging response. They're trying to slander the accuser. And in this process going back and forth, she was handed like a letter. I don't know if it was an op-ed or I don't know, whatever. Okay. And she read the letter. Now, I don't know if she did any more. I don't know if she edited. I don't know if she advised on it. I don't know. But she's now kind of, muddied the waters, for lack of a better term, because the people from her cause are like, you're here trying to help these women who've been sexually assaulted and all these, but now you're advising the people who are trying to slander these people.
Right.
And so she ended up resigning from the cause. And it's fascinating because there are charities where people, that's their full-time job and stuff like that. Right. But a lot of these boards of directors, and you see bank boards and local, they're people that have real jobs that are figureheads in the community. So it was just an interesting how it shook out. And she's being villainized, and I'm not sure if she's actually a villain.
Right.
Because I'm not sure if she did anything to help. But it's just another example of where the Cuomo thing is going further and wider, and he's going to take more people down with him, whether he's trying to or not.
Yes. One of the bigger things on social media right now is they're basically finding out who large celebrities or large entrepreneurs, like who their charities are or what are the things that they support. And then they're basically trying to find conflicting matters. So if you're Walmart and you give, let's say you give X amount to saving the ocean or cleaning up waterways, but then they'll put how many plastic bags every year Walmart uses and disposes of and puts into the environment and crossing it up. And so they almost I always wonder if you're Walmart, do you really not care? Are you really just trying to shut people up by writing the check? Or do you sincerely you think you're trying to do the right thing and our business just happens to have plastic bags? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So if you're this lady, this is the cause and you want to help people out and everything else, my business, it just so happens that every so often, I'm advising a client that might be counterintuitive to the cause. And I don't it's just kind of a gotcha mentality. People are just trying to, and that's what this feels like a little bit.
It's one of the fascinating things, depending on if you've ever watched law shows or courthouse drama. I used to watch Private Practice and then Boston Legal. Did you ever watch Boston Legal?
I can't do procedurals. Boston
Legal with Denny Crane and James Spader. Okay. Who Denny Crane was played by William Shatner. Okay. Was hysterical. Okay. But you get those things, and even the one The Good Wife, which was about I watched that one too for a while. Uh-huh. They represent bad people, and they know it.
Yeah.
And guys who have their illicit businesses and their legal businesses, and they represent and it's this conundrum of us who aren't attorneys, who aren't big time trial attorneys, right, who we look at it and we say, well, how would we represent it? We deal with it a little bit here at NCPA when we're writing stories about sides we don't really agree with, sure, but we're just supposed to report the news. So we report it. Right. Whether, it's our
part of the reason we do this show is because it gives us, we actually get to give
correct,
a bit of an opinion.
So but it is, it's a tangled world. I just found this to be, because it seems like this lady has done a lot of good for the underprivileged.
Yeah.
And now she gets caught up in it, and it's kind of just,
yeah. It's very hard to do good now without somebody trying to attach baggage to it or somebody trying to like taint it. And so I understand, like, in this aspect, like, sure, like it's definitely like crosswired, like there's definitely like
right,
a confliction, but at the same time, like, you have somebody who is actually trying to benefit the world, and you're going to toss them out of it because like she has to do her job, like that's her job,
right?
I don't know. So I do wonder, like, as we move forward, if that stuff's, I feel like this is more common now than what it was 5 years ago.
I had someone tell me once, and this was and I'd heard this a while ago, but my naivety of the world, but a really, really big time businessman who had said that they contributed to both sides, to both candidates.
Oh, all the time.
And it's the first time I heard it, and I was like, well, of course.
Yeah.
Because so then you're like, well, you're not contributing for the good of anything other than you. So you have a friend. And that's not how it's supposed to be.
It's so funny you say that, because I told you, like, I kept running into Mayor Slaughter during the basketball camps this summer. And I actually told Mayor Slaughter, I said, I actually promoted like both of you. Like, I was promoting Derek Slaughter to some people who had different opinions and issues, and I was promoting Biter to some people because I thought they were both good candidates.
Because you can't make up your mind.
No, well, yeah, and honestly, like, between those two, like, yeah, I did have a hard time.
And what's funny is you didn't have a vote.
Yeah, what's funny is I did have a vote because my vote's up until I got it. But it's funny, like, people would start talking about it and stuff like that. And so the point I'm making is, like, I can 100%, I bet you it happens more than we ever imagine, that people benefit or promote two candidates in the same race.
But you weren't doing it. You had no benefit from the winner.
I had no benefit from the winner, but it was that idea of, like, I like Derek and I think he's a nice guy. And from what I've seen from Eric, like, the same thing. So for me, it was never a situation, like, I just wanted to make sure that it was understood. Like, I thought they both would have represented it very well. I think, like, I truly believe this, and I've told Derek this several times. I think that people have no idea how lucky they were to have the mayoral race that they had. There are places all across this country that would die to have one of those candidates, let alone have both of them. I really think like Lycoming County was Williamsport was unique in that manner with the last, like, mayor race. I really do.
I'm surprised how young it was.
Yeah. Well,
compared to the national trend of people are 100.
Yeah. How young it was, how fair it was. Like, neither of them ran negative campaigns against the other. Like, it was, we may never see, I'm in my low 30s. I may never see a race like that again.
Or it may be, they may be 10 years ahead of the curve.
I hope so.
I think the younger generation is just so much more tolerant in so many ways. Mm-hmm. And because of the internet, and because I think that the negative campaigns sooner or later has to turn, and people are just like, I'm not even listening. Because you see the negative campaigns have always come, I shouldn't say always, they're so TV, they're 30-second blast oriented, they're minute blast oriented, and the younger generation don't watch TV anymore. So they're not going to base their vote off the TV ads.
No, that's true.
So I say that mostly, I hope, because the smear campaigns are just so ugly, and just
what I've always found is, like, even if they're right, they just come off very corny, and I have a hard time believing them.
Correct.
Like, even if they're factual, and listen, I'm not naive enough to know that, like, some of them are probably factual.
Yes.
Like, some of them probably aren't wrong. But, like, the way they're done and everything else, like, I've just never bought into them. Now, I have, like, older relatives and older friends and stuff that, like, if it's on TV and it's see it, like, it must be, like, it has a validity to it that other things don't have.
But I agree with you. There's people on the other side. They're like, I know it's not all true, so I don't believe any of it.
Yeah. And
it's what's happened to Trump with the Trump supporters. That even the most diehard Trump supporters, there's accusations that they're like, well, that might be true, but now they just feel like there's so much mud slung at him that they hear something and they immediately disregard it. And there's people like us who during political campaigns, we hear all the negative stuff and we're just like, well, of course they're going to say negative stuff. And I don't even know if I should believe it. So I don't believe any of it.
There's also like, and you hinted at this because they're like 15-second ads, right? Like they're quick. So there's a bluntness and a simplicity to them that anytime, like almost like when it's too simple, it just can't, like there has to be more to it. So whether it was something Trump said or like this past election with Biden and like the college loan debt. Right. And like, it would just be like, and it would be like a 10-second, like, well, we're going to get caught. And it's like, well, no, like there's more, there has to be, it's
not that simple.
It just can't be that simple. No, like, even if you want to do it. So there is something to like, whether it's a smear or just like that simplicity just makes me doubt it without even, like, I just inherently doubt something that's just too simple. That's a 5-second, 10-second ad.
And now we've gone totally tangent. And I know we've talked about this in our lifetime, especially in your lifetime. There is going to be I say a YouTuber, but a TikToker, someone like that who wins a big political office.
Yes, it's probably
coming.
It's probably a little closer than what we think. It's probably a little, because what's happening now. See, when you say TikToker, I think what you envision and what most people envision is they think of like some dancer, some singer, some celebrity, okay. I'm saying like a TikToker, like there are
who've created themselves. They are a persona now unto their own.
Yes, but there are also TikTokers who are like very, what's the word I'm looking for? Like
annoying?
No. Yeah. There are like, you can go on to your Instagram or your TikTok or whatever it may be. And there are people that like, what they talk about is politics. Like they're not doing dances. Like they're not
correct.
Like they come on and they are almost like they're not.
It's like pundits. A little podcast.
Yeah, they're not pundits, but it's kind of like this is what they're interested in and this is what they talk about. And it's like, and they're smart. Like these people, like don't get me wrong, like you'll get the occasional like just somebody throwing out, venom and just whatever. But there are a handful of people on TikTok right now that are very, very capable of like running for political office, and they don't have any actual political affiliation to a job.
Right.
Like I agree with you. Like it's going to happen. And the crazy part is like, I don't even think, depending on who it is, it's not going to be bad.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It won't be a joke.
No.
No, there's some really bright people.
Yeah, it's not going to be like an actor and
musician. No, it could be a joke. There could be.
An actor and musician could win, but I think it's actually going to be like somebody who that's what they talk about.
My son just said this weekend, we were talking about something political while we were watching the MMA fights. And he said, during the last school election, I wrote in Kanye. And there were kids in the class like, yeah, he did. He did. Because the teacher read it.
He wrote it in.
So he wrote it in Kanye.
By the way, he's upsetting everybody. Have you seen this? Quick tangent on Kanye West. He is supposed to be releasing a new album called Donda. Okay. And he set up this whole performance. I think it might have been at Madison Square Garden. I have to double check that. He set up this whole performance. He was going to unveil the music before he dropped the album. So people bought tickets, packed this place, and he went out on stage and he like played the music for it. It wasn't even a concert. Like he was just playing the music. He wasn't singing it. It was just like, so it ends. He rents out some like space down below, and he stayed there for 2 weeks, like working on the album instead of releasing it. So apparently he like played the music for people, and then based off of the response of the crowd, he was like, this worked, that didn't, da da da. 2 weeks later, he sells it out again. He does it again. People come in. He's like 2 hours late. He like comes out, plays the album again. He's like super weird performance, and he still hasn't released the album.
So it's like when you put it out for the audience to give what they
sampler?
They do it in movies. Like, yeah, they have like
a teaser.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he's playing the whole thing.
Yeah, there's what's that called when they
release?
When they show it to a sample audience to get their reaction.
Yeah.
But yes, now he's done it twice.
He's done it twice, and he still hasn't, and he's pushed it back twice now.
And I'm devastated because right when that thing comes out, I am jumping on it.
But this is the part I can't, like, I literally, when I talk about him with people, I cannot decide if he's lost his mind or if he's an absolute genius.
He's probably bordering on both.
Both. Because if you think about that business model, that is what, like, every artist is losing millions of dollars not doing what he just did. If you're a Grande or a Gaga or whoever you are, the fact that you're not doing teaser concerts or teaser listenings or whatever,
he just changed the game.
Like, you're insane if you're not doing that.
Yeah, he's just changed it.
Yeah, I mean, and people, like, he sold it out twice. And he's not doing anything. He's coming out and standing there while he's playing the music. If Taylor Swift did that, she'd sell out in 15 minutes?
Absolutely.
20 minutes?
Yes.
So I don't know.
Oh, there'll be more. Or there'll be people that are just like, I can't. Like, she may come out with an acoustic guitar and just sit there and just play the whole album.
Actually perform it. Like, actually play the album.
But there are others that'll just, no, they'll do that. I don't think Gaga could do it. Maybe. I don't know.
I think Gaga's sneaky. Like, people love Gaga.
She's clever.
It's unreal.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Olympic wrap-up.
It's over.
It's over. USA men's pulled off the gold medal.
So the women,
in basketball, the women also won in volleyball.
I saw that.
Crushed Brazil.
I saw that. I did notice this. Here are some of my Olympic wrap-up takes.
Okay.
Number one, I will say this again, and there are too many events in swimming. They're just the fact that the most the most decorated athletes in Olympic history are all swimmers because there's 10,000 events.
Two things. Can I give the three things with swimming? Because you'll be able to build off of this.
Go ahead.
One, swimming is one of the only events that is just surviving. And what I mean by that is that's what swimming, like everything else that you do, like maybe running, but swimming is just a physical thing you have to do to survive.
Like if you drown?
You're just not drowning.
You're going to drown faster than everyone else.
So that has always thrown me off about the swimming. Like everything else, like you're picking up this ball or you're doing like you're pole vaulting over. Swimming is the one thing that it's like you just inherently have to swim if you're in water. Like that's just, you have to do it. The second thing, I still don't think the best swimmers in the world are actually swimming. I don't.
Yes,
I think there's the majority of athletes never actually try to competitively swim.
I agree with that.
So I've always been thrown off by that. Not to take anything away from Ledecky or Phelps or anybody who's fantastic at it. I just don't think the best people are actually swimming. And then the third part of it, having to go back through, and gymnastics has a little bit of this problem, going back through and having team and individual for every single stroke is a lot. It would be like if basketball had 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 4-on-4, 5-on-5.
Right.
Like swimming and
Kevin Durant could play in every one.
Yes, swimming
and then they have half court, and then they have full court, and then they have we'll play 1 quarter, we'll play 2 quarters, we'll play 3 quarters.
Yes. Yeah. Is swimming and gymnastics inherently have that issue?
Now, swimming, and we talked about this, for something that's kind of not all that exciting, that just kind of goes, is greatly exciting.
I love watching it.
It is such a good spectator sport from TV. Swimming is awesome.
Yes. But I think they've only scratched the surface as far as like camera angles, like things like that. Yes. Like it's only going to get better watching swimming at the Olympics.
Yes, it is. So that's part of, like, when I'm watching it, I'm not thinking, oh, here's another, because as they're coming home and you don't even care, like you see, oh, they're gaining, and it is awesome. But when you get they get 9 gold medals, or not, people that are getting 7 medals in the Olympics,
right?
About Kevin Durant can get 1.
Yeah.
The best, if as a gymnast, if you win a team medal, an individual medal, and then a medal on each apparatus, you can get 6.
Yeah.
Like there's lots of people that go to the Olympics, and because of what they do, they can only get 1.
Right.
Swimmers can get 30.
Right.
Now they don't, but they can, and they can, with the relays at every distance. And did they do co-ed relays this year for the first time?
I didn't see that.
Mean, there's a lot of it that's a lot of it's just like the relay, like the track and field relays, like the Americans, we win because we just have more athletes to choose from. So there's a little bit of a fakeness about that. Horse show jumping is not an Olympic sport. I don't care. I didn't
Horse
know it
show
was
jumping.
until yesterday.
Is it timed
Who
or
cares?
is it judged?
Both.
Because you know how I feel about the judging. Like judges, like that's art. It's not computer.
There's some sort. My daughter told me the name of it. It's like horse dancing, and they ride. And
did you see this?
I was also told. Let me finish this.
Okay,
that the history of horse dancing comes from. Someone told me this. That back in battle, the horses were trained that if you get close enough to someone, and that they're supposed to try to stomp them to death. So this Olympic horse dance comes back from the history of them trampling the enemy.
No, but that makes sense.
Horse dancing and horse show jumping, not sports.
Okay. Did you see, and this was going around, this is a great topic. There was somebody was in first place going into the final round. It might have been horse jumping.
Okay.
And the horse refused to jump.
Oh, I can tell you this story. Someone told me this.
Okay. And the girl was devastated. I shouldn't call her a girl. The Olympian was devastated, right? Because she's earned her, she's an Olympian. She deserves to be called an Olympian and not a girl. For whatever reason, when I picture people riding horses, I always picture a girl.
They're young.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. This Olympian was devastated, and people were feeling awful for her. And I understand that would be very difficult, but she's the horse is doing everything.
I know what you mean.
The horse,
I'm doing all the work.
The horse,
you sit on my back,
and so I'm not saying there isn't a level of embarrassment to that, but how devastated can you be?
Well, this is
you're only there because the horse has agreed to be there.
Well, I think my daughter explained this to me, and I will have to research this because I didn't know it. But it was explained to me that there's some. It's like in track and field, there's the heptathlon.
Okay.
There's the biathlon for men, or not the decathlon.
Yes.
And they have 10 events, and the women, and the biathlon is the skiing and the shooting. But it's something in this, and it's a random draw. It's not your horse. It's like going to the bowling alley and you pick up a ball.
Picking a ball.
So they have 20 minutes to bond with this horse and to get to the point. And apparently, as my dog explained, the horse is I don't like you.
Yeah.
And they couldn't, and the horse wouldn't go.
Yes.
And so then you're what a crazy thing. You train your whole life.
But why is that a sport?
Again, it's not a sport, and it shouldn't be the Olympics. That's where it goes to.
Okay.
But that's what it was explained to me, that they just met. And they're here, become buddies. And the horse is I'm not riding for you.
Do you switch the horse each day?
I don't know.
Or do they get to keep the horse throughout the competition?
And I don't even know what all the other events were. But one was the girl had to ride this horse, and the horse didn't like her.
Yes.
And the horse wouldn't go.
Yes. So people on social media, there was a 50-50 divide of should you feel bad for her? Should you feel bad for the horse?
Well, wasn't she whipping the horse and
that? I don't know. I didn't actually see.
I heard that she kind of went into panic mode when the horse wouldn't go, and got a little bit violent with the horse, and then the horse was really now I'm really not going.
Right, no chance.
And I guess it was ugly, but that's the story I got. So we can all research it, because I don't know if I could be totally wrong. But that's what I heard.
I just I don't know. That sounds like a free for all for me. That sounds like you'd be better off putting all the names in a bowl and just saying you get the gold, you get the silver, you get the bronze.
It'd be like showing up at a golf tournament, telling the guys here are the clubs you get.
You get an 8, you get a 6.
They're all mostly the same. I mean, it's a 7-iron, so what's the difference between this 7-iron and that 7-iron? This one looks like it's been in some guy's garage and been backed over a couple times.
If the irons could think for themselves, that's the other part of this too.
Did you ever see Tin Cup?
Yeah.
When he beat the guy with the shovel. And that's a
Tin Cup's very underrated.
What a great movie.
Any other Olympic one? I still every year, handball. I'm all in on handball. No, not for you.
No, I think it's dumb.
What don't you like about it?
It's dumb.
Is it just because you don't know it? You see it and you're just this isn't.
It's like a combination of basketball and soccer, and to a degree, and it's just I don't know. From the team sports, I like the ones that you can kind of figure out and you can see and it's just
okay.
there's all these games that disappear. I mean, you talk about the best people in the world don't swim.
Yeah.
Like, certainly there are 10,000 better athletes than the people on the handball team.
I am always shocked at their athleticism.
Well,
and maybe that's my own fault because I'm thinking like, oh, handball, and like they're just gonna what it like some of them are incredibly like they're long, they're lanky, they can get it, like they jump like almost like scouting basketball. Like they are really good athletes.
Dude, yeah. I mean, as normal, but like, we see the best of the best on ESPN, whether it's football, whether it's baseball, and then we see, the professional ranks. You go to to most people like Bloomsburg versus IUP in men's college basketball.
Sure.
And they're like, it's a throw. Like, and there's so much talent on the court. People have no idea how good these people are. And then you're like, how good the really good people are.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling how athletic some people are.
No, it's insane.
My other thought is that the Olympics, they should change it. So I understand it's a worldwide thing, but they need to put it in the U.S. time zone because it just works so much better.
That's like a selfish like.
For us, yes, I don't like watching when I know who won. It's so much better if we can watch it.
I also there needs to be. I think 4 years is too long now. Like when they no, I think 4 years is too long. I think you go 3. I think you go every 3 years. That's still long enough away where like the athletes are rotating. You're kind of ready for it. 4 years is forever.
I'll just say this. At first, I thought you would go to 2, and I don't know why I was stuck with even numbers.
3 is perfect.
3 is different. 3 is not a terrible solution. It's the first I've ever thought of it. And then you could go like winter, summer, off, winter, summer, off.
Yes.
That's not a terrible idea.
It's not.
I'll give you that.
You get one down year, and then you kind of bounce them off. The other thing you could do too is you could combine them. You could have the Winter Olympics go at the same time on one half of the world, and have the Summer Olympics go out at like 2 weeks later on another half of the world. Like you could have it in the same year.
Yeah,
so just
then people get numb to it.
You think so?
We like the drama because it used to be they were in the same year.
But now you've waited 3 years to watch the Olympics.
No, but that's who like the winter and the Summer Olympics used to be in the same year, and then they split them.
Okay.
They split them in like 99. I think 92 was the last year they were in the same.
You used to have to wait 4 years? Really?
Yes. The Winter Olympics went from 92 to 94. They jam, and so they would get off pace.
I'm still confused. So in 1992, let's say they never would have changed it.
Yes.
The Winter Olympics would have been in 1992.
Mm-hmm.
The Summer Olympics would have been in 1992.
They were.
And then if they never would have changed it, everyone would have had to wait until 1996 to watch the Olympics.
It used to be on our election years. 92, 94. And then they switched
my mindset is every 2 years there's an Olympics.
Now it's been that way for 30 years, but it wasn't that way at first.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Yep. I did not know that.
Yep.
What did you think?
Because like the Winter Olympics of the Miracle on Ice was 1980s hockey team here.
Okay.
And we boycotted the 1980 Summer Olympics in Moscow.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. What did you think, last thing before we go about the Olympics, what did you think about, I wasn't surprised, but I was really interested in like American athletes almost being upset with the American viewing public and vice versa. Like there was more tension between the athletes and like social media is some of it. Politics got into it a little bit this year, but like you look like the U.S. men's basketball team basically said like, don't cheer for us if you were saying we were going to lose. Like they came home and they were kind of like rubbing it in like the American public viewing's face. Like, and you saw the stuff with the American women's soccer team and like how that kind of, got mixed up into politics and everything else. I was like, there was like a vitriol kind of between the athletes.
Very nice. Well, it is the whole.
Did you feel it? Like, or
I did.
Or maybe you didn't. See, like,
I didn't.
Maybe it's
pay
my
attention
social
that much.
media, right? Maybe it's my social media feed in the people I follow and what I'm reading, that it was more present in my life than what it was for the average viewer.
Well, it's an interesting point, and I saw an interview with Muhammad Ali a long time ago when he talked about when he won the gold medal in '60, and I don't know where the '60 Olympics were, but he won the gold medal, and he talked about how every American, they're all like proud, and I'm standing on top, and the flag's going up, and they're playing the Star Spangled Banner, and then I come home and I can't sit at the same food counter,
Right.
and he was from Louisville. And he's like, I have to sit in the back of the restaurant. So, like, America's proud of me at times, but then they're not proud of me.
Sure.
So I can see, because of Black Lives Matter and because of the tension that has come with the NBA, and there's lots of white, especially like around in our area, where they're like, I'm not watching professional sports ever since Colin Kaepernick. They don't watch football, and they're not going. So I can see the whole, like, if you don't like me, then don't root for me during the Olympics.
That's it. You just summed it up way better than I did. That's what it was. Like, there was a lot of, like, if you didn't think we were going to win, do not cheer for me when I come back home.
And even
of it.
And I've seen the parts. I saw a post that what's Megan Rapinoe? I don't know how to say her name. It's not Rapinoe.
I believe
isn't it Rapinoe?
Yeah.
She's a Subway spokesman. She's in the Subway ads.
Yeah.
And but she's been a very outspoken protester of the discrimination against the LGBTQ community, and she's knelt during the anthem and things like that. And I've seen people that are like, I won't go to Subway now if she's one of your spokesmen. But again, it comes back to the same thing, that, like, from her aspect, if you don't like me, then don't like me now just because I'm playing for the country. Because as Americans, we care about,
Sure.
In horse show jumping, who's the American? I know she took the silver because I just know that because
Right.
But, in the Winter Olympics and bobsledding, we don't know anything about bobsledding other than the fact you're supposed to go fast, but we root for the red, white, and blue.
I've always joked that that's one of the advantages that golf has. Like, golf puts the little flags up on the score on TV, up on the scores table, stuff like that. And so, like, you have viewers that are, like, non-golf people that, like, they'll just see that American flag and, like, they just, like, that's, like, I'm rooting for that.
Yeah.
Very unique to, like, golf, a little bit of tennis.
Golf and tennis would be the best examples. Yes.
But, like, that it is a benefit for them, kind of what you are describing, that innate idea of, like, I see that flag or I see those colors and that's who I'm rooting for. But this was the first, like, I guess maybe because I'm younger, I don't know what it is.
Well, it was
the
more
first
socially tense, like back to the Mexico City, which we weren't alive for, obviously, but when John Carlos and But yeah, there's a great social tension is higher now than it's been in our life.
It was the first year watching the Olympics where it wasn't just as simple as that person's wearing USA.
Mm-hmm.
I felt there were more so than ever before in my livelihood where, like, they were actual opinions, and then depending on those opinions, some people did not care that they were wearing USA.
Now,
It was unique.
purely basketball.
I thought we were the most talented. Did I think we were going to win? Yes.
Did you really? You
Yes.
thought we were going to win the gold?
Yep.
Okay.
But I will. The point that you are making,
Because I didn't.
the point that you are making, would I have bet money on it? I did not.
Okay.
So I was not confident. But we're so much more talented.
Oh, we're pretty good.
We're so much more talented.
And this is one of the, and not to get back to basketball, but Durant mishandled his legacy because he is so good.
He's so good
that if he needed to not surround himself with all-star teams.
Sure.
If he would have stuck in OKC,
they would have
or
won.
Somewhere, eventually they would have won.
Yes.
And he would be to OKC what Jordan was to Chicago and what Duncan and Robinson were to San Antonio. And
the irony of this generation, and it's really in other sports too. Like, it's not just in basketball, but in basketball, it's very apparent. This generation, like people who came in like 2005 to like now, they were legacy chasers, and it's going to end up biting them in the butt instead of helping them.
Because no matter how many rings he has, his legacy
it's
is
not
he couldn't do it by himself.
So it's
but
weird.
He's making shots that you're just
insane.
like, you can't guard that. And it's more than because he's so tall and he's so talented. Like Jordan was acrobatic and could fly and all that stuff. But Durant's he's unguardable.
He's the greatest scorer the NBA has ever had. Now, I will go to my grave saying this. I think people like Bird and Jordan were more impressive scorers because there was a level of difficult, like Jordan was 6'6", Bird didn't get off the floor as high. Like, so some of the shots they were hitting, Durant's the greatest because like you can't block him.
They're uncontested.
They're just there's nothing once he's in a rhythm. So he is the greatest scorer of all time by far. It's and I would argue there's no one. It's like you couldn't find somebody for me that it would be like debatable.
Right.
He's the greatest scorer of all time.
And you're just watching it again in the gold medal game because the gold medal game was actually live, so it kind of worked for us because it wrapped around the clock. But
I fell asleep.
Yeah, and it's just too bad that he kind of handled it the way he did because he is so good.
He's insanely good. Thank you guys for watching the Midday
I got
show
one more
today.
thing to mention.
Oh, go ahead.
While we're on sports,
Go.
and I know no one's listening anymore,
No,
right? Is that why?
They're all listening.
They're gone. Baseball's kind of getting into the dog days, and as you know, we kind of get the ho-hum. The Phillies and the Yankees have both decided to get hot now. Phillies won 8 in a row. Yankees won 8 out of 10. And the Mets and but local interest, because here, the two most prominent teams by far from a fan base are the Yankees and the Phillies, who have both been incredibly underwhelming until August.
Right.
And now they are picking up speed right at the right time. So the pennant race is going to be a whole lot of fun. The Phillies are in first now.
It's insane.
And the Yankees, who I kept telling Jerry all summer, I was like, they need one like really good 9-game stretch. And I was like, yeah, but they're running out of season. And all of a sudden, here it is. Now they lost yesterday in a game they didn't want to lose. But it is September and August and September are going to be very, very interesting for local baseball fans.
Yes. My favorite thing about the Phillies thing is that I think the Braves are going to win the division. So my favorite thing about all of this is everybody was like Phillies, Mets, Phillies, Mets, Phillies, Mets. And I think the Braves are a game and a half behind right now.
They're close.
And so as the Phillies were catching the Mets, what nobody realized was the Braves were too.
But with Philly fans, if there's any group of people that have gone through the agony and the ecstasy, and much more agony than ecstasy, it's Phillies fans.
Yes.
Like, you just see if the Mets collapse or if the Braves don't get there, the people are going to take it in stride.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I really think Philly fans will be jumping off bridges. They just wear it on their sleeve, and they are so excited now because they are hit.
It would be the most Philly thing ever for them to catch the Mets, only to not look right behind them and realize that the Braves are doing it step for step with them.
But they are Harper swinging it well. Girardi's got him going. I love Joe Girardi. So it'll be fun. It'll be a fun September, but even as we melt through August to get to September.
Yeah, I'm with you. Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show. Thank you to all of our sponsors. And be sure to go to NorthcentralPA.com for all of your local news. You can actually find the first story we talked about today about the pastor from Sunbury stealing. So check out NorthcentralPA.com and be sure to go there for all your local news. Anything I'm forgetting?
Nope, that's it. You done good.
We did it all right. All right, we'll be back tomorrow. We'll have to, no Quizzo tomorrow. Maybe
I don't think we're having Quizzo.
We should do, instead of Quizzo tomorrow, let's do like one of the rankings or one of the things we've talked about. We've talked about like doing like a ranking before, like doing something like that. All right. Maybe tomorrow would be a good day for that. Since
we'll do something fun.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys for watching. I am Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina, and we will see you tomorrow.
See ya.